Hello and welcome to Down and Dirty with Darci. I'm your host, Darci Smith, also known as Career Coach Darci. We are here to get down and dirty about careers, uncovering salaries, wild stories, backgrounds, and more from guests with some of the most eccentric professions each week. This podcast is presented by Onomy. Welcome, Jimmy. I'm going to do a whole bio, but welcome to Down and Dirty.
All right.
So you're going to have to sit there as I get through all this.
Okay.
You ready? All right. Jimmy Warden is a Chicago-born screenwriter and director. After he graduated from Indiana University in 2011 with a degree in something, he moved to LA and worked as an assistant in all facets of the business: movie sets, talent agency, production company, director's assistant, you name it, until he decided to venture off on his own to pursue his dream of no longer getting coffee for other people. Borderline is Jimmy's feature directorial debut, from the 2020 Blacklist script, an annual survey of Hollywood executives' favorite screenplays, which he also wrote. Jimmy wrote the upcoming feature film Cocaine Bear, which was sold in his original script to Universal, produced by Lord Miller and directed by Elizabeth Banks. He co-produced Netflix horror comedy The Babysitter and wrote the sequel, The Babysitter Killer Queen. He loves his dog and cat, but the dog a little bit more.
I think that's true.
Is that right?
Yeah. The
Is
cat's
all of that
making a
true?
comeback. All of that is true. Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote that.
Wait, what is the degree in something? I need to know what the something is.
Well, we can get into it. I mean, there
Yeah.
was a
Let's unpack this.
degree in something.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it was more like I was confused as to what I wanted to do. So I was bouncing around a bunch, and then I ended up doing kind of like a film criticism thing, which isn't necessarily what Indiana University is known for.
Right, but it was a degree nonetheless.
It was a degree.
Okay.
It was a bachelor's in arts and sciences, I think.
Okay, there you
Yeah,
go. Nice.
there you go. So I had it. I have the piece of paper somewhere. Maybe
Yeah.
my mom does, I guess.
I think that it can all just be falsified. Like, I think
Photoshop,
not
maybe.
yours exactly, but I just think in general. Like, I do have an MBA, but I've just been telling people that, and no one's ever asked for it. Like,
No, I think
I
the
don't-
same. I don't.
yeah.
I don't know that anybody was like calling for my first job. It's like calling the university.
No.
Say, yeah.
there's
it's
a
not shattered glass.
There's a podcast I listened to. Jackie Schimmel. She like fudged a UCLA degree, and that's how she got her first job.
I know people that have done that too.
Yeah.
I think that like I don't know. College for me was more of just like a learning how to be a human being
Agreed.
experience.
It's just
rather than-
fun.
Yeah.
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 Did you go away to college? So you grew up.
Grew up in Chicago.
Okay.
And then went to Indiana, so like far enough away where my parents couldn't visit every weekend, but
Makes sense.
still kind of close to home
And
and still freezing.
and then did you move to LA like right after school or?
I did a short stint in New Orleans on a movie set, 21 Jump Street.
I had that in here to ask you about because I love that movie.
Yeah.
And I want to ask about like how it was and did you enjoy the process and like were the people funny?
I was a production assistant, which is like kind of the lowest.
The lowest
end.
on the totem pole, right?
Totally, yeah.
Okay.
But you get kind of a scope of how movies are made, and it was I had interned a little bit in college, and then I'd done like a television show on our like our local TV channel for our school.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, it's kind of a new experience when you're on a set of a big studio movie.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know this about me, but I like coach people on like interviewing and like help them with job searches on the daily. So like, how does one get to be a PA? Like, is there a Indeed posting where you submit your application, or like, how does this happen?
There are, and those are like insanely hard to get any job. Like there's when I first moved here, there was something, I'm not sure if it still exists. There was something called the UTA job list.
Rami?
Where you could,
Checking.
like,
Rami can check.
I'm checking and looking
Fact
for my
checker.
next acting job.
What'd you say?
and it's just like a bunch of all the companies and studios
Okay.
kind of like just publish their open job opportunities, and then you would apply, and then inevitably never hear back. But you could use those as saying like, okay, well, I know that there's a job opening at X, and I also know that my cousin's friend works at X, so I'll email that person and then forward my resume.
Nice.
That's one way to do it. I think that like breaking in is never the same. Like two stories are never the same, especially in I don't know. I guess in any business, but
Would you call 21 Jump Street your big break?
no,
Your PA job was your
I
break
don't.
in.
I don't
mean,
think
on
so.
some level, right? Like that's
Well,
your
I think
first
I had
big
to
movie.
have a couple, odd jobs in there just make sure that I was able to again be a human being.
Okay.
And then having, whatever that pseudo degree was at Indiana, and then some of that production experience helped me get my first job. And then, but I still needed, a bit of a connection through a former, like a previous internship that I had. So it was all kind of like parlaying previous job to next one.
What kind of money does a PA make?
Nothing. We called them, we used to call beers half hours because you'd have to work half hour to afford a beer in New Orleans.
Oh,
Like,
oh no.
so we were like, yeah, you make nothing. I don't know if it's any better now, but
Probably depends on where the obviously the movie's being shot too.
where the movie's being shot, yeah, I mean,
But essentially, it's you make nothing as a PA.
yeah, they're not unionized, so
Oh, okay.
there's no, but I assume that they just make minimum wage. I mean, that's
Right.
what we were making.
That makes sense.
But
So,
again, you're not really taking that job to, there's no, you're not really like a career PA. So you're always using that as a stepping stone. Some people really love it, and there is a route to go if you want to be an assistant director.
you can like manage the PAs. I would assume
Yeah,
there's a
you like
trajectory there,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then the, the assistant director basically different than a director's assistant, basically runs the set. And, you can't make a movie without an AD.
Yeah,
So a lot of people do that. It's a tough job.
sounds like it.
Yeah.
What and did you always know this was gonna be your path? Like what, like in terms of like working in the movie? Like were you a kid like I'm gonna be the next?
No, I don't think so. I think that like growing up, I was confused. Like I don't know. I didn't do that well in school. I was always kind of like behind. I have vague learning disabilities, which is I guess, a topic of debate in my household because I think that
Maybe we should unpack this.
I mean, a lot of people like my wife and my sister, my brother and I always say that we have learning disabilities, and we were actually diagnosed with them. But I think it's just that I can't sit still or pay attention to anything.
There's something to that, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wasn't like I still can't spell,
Okay.
spell for shit.
Yeah.
Which is funny as a writer, I guess. But sorry,
Yeah,
I swore. Is that all right?
No, you can swear. Yeah.
Fuck.
Fuck.
Shit.
But maybe not. That's a little much. Okay. 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 I saw that you worked for. I don't actually know this person, but I'm gonna pretend like. Is it McG? Is that what he goes by?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw that he worked for. The reason I saw this is because he did the OC.
Yeah.
And Supernatural.
Right.
So what was that experience like? How did you get that job? Because that's obviously big time, somewhat.
So
Right?
yeah, so I mean, it kind of like everything leads to something else. So when I was a PA, and then I was staying on my uncle's friend's couch in New Orleans, and then I left New Orleans and came out to, like, just moved out to Los Angeles, staying on then my uncle's couch.
Lots of uncles in this story.
and then, but I was still in contact with that guy I was staying with in New Orleans, and he had sent my resume to a talent agency because he had some connection there, and I went in and interviewed there, and then I worked on a talent agent's desk, answering phones and getting coffee and doing schedules and stuff like that for 2 years, which was. Again, I'm 22, and I'm kind of like I'm a late bloomer when it comes to everything. So I was kind of it took me a while to settle in. And then, so I did 2 years there, and then was kind of through connections that I had made on that job, I got set up with McGee, who runs this company called Wonderland, and they're a production company. He's a director and a producer.
Yeah.
And then I worked for him for years and years.
How many years?
I worked for the company for 5.
Okay.
So,
Did you go on your own after that?
and then I quit. Yeah, maybe, yeah, 5, I think. A little more. And then I quit eventually and to kind of do my own thing, start writing on my own. But meanwhile, I was like so creatively, I was bored, of course, on the talent agent's desk.
Right.
And you can tell that like there are people that are really into it, and then there was me. And
I just picture Lloyd from Entourage.
that's
like
kind of
so into it. And
that
you're
is like, I mean, and my boss was great to me. I mean, he helped me get that next job, and
Nice.
we still keep in touch. But yeah, I just knew that it wasn't for me, and I was kind of looking at things like, I guess in retrospect, it's easier to do this. But if you're like, I don't know, if you, I was just listening to your other pod about the food stylist, and like, I guess if you're going into the restaurant business or the food business and you walk in and you're like, okay, I'm not sure. I think I want to be a chef, but I'm not sure I want to be a chef. So I'm going to start as a waiter. But I know I don't want to do this for my whole life. And I know I don't want to be a maitre d', who maybe I want to be a food critic. And you're just kind of like taking in everything. And that's what I think that those first couple jobs did for me.
So now where you're at, how do you, when someone asks you, like, what do you do for work? What do you say?
I say screenwriter, director. I think
Okay.
I had trouble initially like calling myself a screenwriter, and I think I looked it up, and it was like the definition was like
looked up my
somebody.
job.
I looked up the definition of
That's what we all-
It
screenwriter.
says a person who writes a screenplay.
Yeah, and then also it was like, I think I got it in my head that it was like you had to get paid for it.
I see.
To claim
So-
that as your
To
job
claim it.
title.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I actually disagree with now, because it's, you know, you could be a writer without ever having published anything. But it took me a while to like, you know, I had decided to do it, and I had been writing kind of privately on my own for a long time. And then I had called an agent that I sat next to when I was working at this talent agency. And once I had a script that I wanted to send, I sent it to him, and then they ended up being my first agents. And
So as a screenwriter, you have an agent?
yeah,
Okay. Because I think the normal, like, we know actors have agents and like
Yeah.
sports people have agents,
yeah.
but screenwriters, directors, they have agents too. They all,
Screenwriters, directors, everybody pretty much has an agent. Yeah.
everyone has to get that piece of the pie.
I think that, yeah, exactly. I think that that's kind of one of the first big steps into pursuing screenwriting, especially as a career, because you need somebody that is going to advocate for you, kind of get your
Yeah.
name out there.
Is there like an average of like how many, I don't know how to ask this exactly, but like how many screenplays are out there that then compared to what actually get picked up and made into movies?
I don't know I mean, I could lie and say that it was like close to 0%.
1 in a million, literally.
But you think it's probably, yeah, it's definitely.
I think it's pretty low. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to get a movie made.
What about in your own like life? Like how many times have you written something and tried to pitch it or have tried to make it? Is pitching it the right word? Is that even?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think that there's a couple different routes that you can do as a screenwriter once you kind of have your foot in the door and you're actually going out on meetings, and you know, people know your voice and have read some of your stuff. Then I think, and you can actually get in the rooms. You can either you go in there and talk about the project and kind of sing for your supper without having written the script yet.
Oh, okay.
And then you ask them to pay you to write it.
So it's like a book deal
Yeah, kind
where
of.
they like you can pitch them on like that first, and then they can give you that advance, and then
Exactly. So then they
Nice.
pay you to commence you by paying you half of your check up front. And then when you deliver it, they give you the other half.
Is that how payment works? So if someone were to be like a screenwriter, like you,
Yeah.
you go in, this happens, you get, is it like one lump sum payment that they're going to offer you as the contract to make the movie? It doesn't matter how long it's going to take or if it actually gets, do you know what I mean? Like, what if it
No.
never actually gets made into I'm sure like a lot
Yeah.
of things have to happen for it to become into screen, like
Right. So I think
my living room.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think that maybe the best way to, I can use an example. So if I have if I sell a script to or if I sell a pitch to a studio,
Okay.
they buy it. They say that, they're going to pay me X amount of money. You get half of that to start writing. Then you have standard is probably like 12 weeks, give or take, to turn in the first draft to the studio.
Wow.
And then you get the other half of that money. And then you get what's called a production bonus, which is like if the movie gets made, you get another lump sum of money. And all this stuff is negotiated
I see.
by your agents. And then if you get fired a lot in the entertainment business, especially in writing, and it's not as bad as
Can you
that
explain
word
that
sounds.
more to people?
But like if I sold
you're saying
if I sold a movie to Netflix and they really liked the idea, and I went and wrote the script, and then it wasn't exactly what they wanted, even if it was my original idea, they could kind of kick me off the project as long as they paid me in full.
What?
And then have somebody come on to
So your
rewrite
movie can
the
get
project.
made or
By someone
rewritten.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
exactly.
And you're sitting there like in your living room watching, you're like, oh, I kind of created that.
Yeah, I mean, I've written on movies.
What?
I've written on movies, which, yeah, I mean, I can't say what they are, but like that I haven't gotten credit for. They weren't my, it's pretty standard. They weren't my original ideas. Like I didn't write the first draft of them. I didn't pitch them, but I was brought on later in the process to,
Wow.
yeah. But it's
so
not,
that person still gets credit then. The original
it's
idea.
all, I mean, this is getting
Into the weeds?
really into
Sorry.
the weeds, but there's something called arbitration that once the movie is done, they take all the scripts that have been written, all the drafts, and they compare them by all the other the writers, compare that to the final version of the movie. And in order to get sole credit, it's, you have to have written the majority of the movie.
certain percentage. That makes sense.
And then to get co-credit, it's like, obviously it's 50% or somebody I can't really remember the percentages. Maybe it's 30% or something. And then there's also like story by. So in that case, that example that I just gave you, if I sold a pitch to Netflix and it was my story and then someone came in and did a better job in writing the script, I would still get like story by credit.
I always wondered what that meant.
Yeah.
It makes sense now. I love this stuff. It's so interesting.
Yeah, this is like
And then you,
fascinating.
like-
My brain hurts, but it's fascinating.
I know it's very confusing. Especially coming up, you're kind of like, but again, your reaction to the word getting fired is kind of different than mine would be.
Of course, yeah. But you're getting paid for what you're supposed to deliver on. You
Right.
do that, and then that's the end of that deal, and then it's
I think a lot of
on.
screenwriters think about it like it's a painting. Like you could sell the painting to somebody, and they can have it in their home. Their children can draw on it. They can put it through the shredder.
Yeah,
They can
take
put it in their
pictures of
garage.
it.
They can
Yeah.
they can do whatever they want to it. But you were paid for your work.
right.
So it's not always the most like creatively fulfilling proposition, but it's it's still a job.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, so what kind of stuff do you like to write? Like, what do you? It's like comedy. Is it
Yeah, I think I started as
horror?
I started doing more comedy stuff. And then always been really into kind of the genre space of horror. So I've been my last couple projects have been kind of blending the two.
Is so Cocaine Bear? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so that one
The title already is like very intriguing.
So that one was like an original script that I wrote, and I wrote that on spec. That means that nobody paid me to do it, and you're kind of just crossing your fingers.
So you just wrote it because you thought it was cool. and you didn't have any advance or any sort of thing that we just talked about.
No. And also I had I thought that it could be kind of I knew it was a splashy title. I knew people were going to like that. And half the battle, like when you haven't really broken through, is kind of just to get people to read your stuff. And I think that at the time I was like, well, who's not going to read a script called
Cocaine Bear? Yeah. How did you come up with it? Like,
so it's like it's inspired by a true story. And there was a bear who ingested like 70 pounds of cocaine in the Chattahoochee National Forest in 1985 and died immediately. And there was like I think that I was procrastinating. I was like surfing. I was surfing the web. Do people still say that? I think I was on Twitter, and I saw like a link to some roadside, highway museum in Knoxville or something, and like two tourists were taking a picture next to this stuffed bear that they called Pablo Escobar, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And then I did some digging in that, like I find out that it's kind of a sad story, but there was a line in one of the articles, and I think it's since become kind of an internet meme, where it's like for whatever time it was alive, whether it was like 5 minutes or 5 days, it was the most dangerous apex predator since the Jurassic period. I was like, well, that's a movie.
Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wrote that, and I was kind of like, and I knew it was good, and I had representation already, but I had a friend who actually wrote this other movie that I had worked on ages ago, like 5 years before, and we just kept in touch. And then he, and this honestly, maybe it's not best for this podcast because this never happens like this, but he sent it to, weirdly, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who directed 21 Jump Street, my first job. And then they had, they sent it to Aditya, their president, sent it to Universal like the next day, and then by Monday I had an offer on the script.
What were like? Give me your reaction. Like when you get a call, I'm assuming from your agent or something that's like, we have an offer.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it usually happens. This one was particularly weird because it was like, I still don't believe that it's real. Like I think that the whole thing, just because the nature of the movie is like, who the hell made a movie called Cocaine Bear?
Hey, I saw the trailer today. It looks amazing.
I know. So. Yeah. And I think that's kind of, that I was, I couldn't really believe it. So I was like, at a certain point, I was kind of just playing with house money. I was like, well, if they want to, they're never going to make this movie. And then they were like, we're going to make this movie. And I was like, well, holy shit. And then I guess the rest is history.
Do you get to say, as a screenwriter, in any of the people that work on the movie? Like the actors or the director, any of that?
Not really like an approval. No, most screenwriters won't get, that's much more typical in the television space.
Okay.
But yeah, that's usually left to I gave who I thought should play the characters based on, what was in my head when I wrote the script. And
yeah, because I would assume that would make the most sense. Like you had the vision, like you could now picture the characters and.
Yeah.
Right?
So I definitely I felt heard,
Cool. Yeah.
But I think that a lot of other writers would probably feel differently, have different experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. What's been like your favorite part about being this whole like industry? And because I feel like it gets talked about so much about like working in entertainment and stuff. And what have you, like, I'm sure you've had your ups and downs, but what's been like your favorite part about doing what you do?
I don't know. I think I think I like that it's not, this is kind of a cheated answer, but like, I like the inconsistency not necessarily financially, but like I'm not talking about financially. I'm more talking about like, I like that, I just directed a movie. So I was in Vancouver for 3 months, which is hard and it's grueling. And then you're like, okay, now I kind of miss being at home and, waking up and writing every day for 3 months. And then when that is done, then something else happens. And it's kind of just like, you just keep the ball rolling.
Are you constantly working on something?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Usually multiple things. The thing that I just directed, that was like kind of, I could only focus on that because it takes.
Can you say what that was or no?
Yeah, it was this movie called Borderline, which is like it's a it's a home invasion, but the guy that is invading the home thinks that he's attending like his wedding. He's a stalker.
Twisty.
But it's in a similar tone of Cocaine Bear. Like it's kind of a comedic thriller.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I saw the trailer, I would label it as comedic thriller for
Yeah.
Cocaine Bear. Yeah.
Yeah. That one is.
I'm so excited for it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
it
gonna
looks
tell
good.
everyone I know and everyone on this podcast that
Everyone
about it.
go see it.
Go see it. Is it gonna be in theaters?
Yeah,
Cool. Oh my
all
gosh.
around the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I would clap if that wasn't annoying to the people on the podcast. Who do you
We
look
can
up
add it
to?
in post.
Oh yeah. Yeah, give us that like clapping sound. Who do you look up to in this space? Like, is there anyone that you're like, I want to write like that, or I want to direct like that, or?
I think that the more kind of original voices are, I mean, everybody will say that they love Quentin Tarantino or Paul Thomas Anderson, or the Coen brothers are probably my favorite writers. But I think that what I've learned the most from them is that you kind of just need to find your voice. If I tried to write like any of those people, it would just feel like it was, the Pale Brother. And so I think that was the first thing that I had to accomplish when I was writing, when I first started writing, was
Yeah.
like, you have to just like find your own, you have to make a place for yourself.
Did you learn how to? Because I'm not saying I'm a good writer by any means, but like I can just write things, but I would never know how to put together like a storyline or like a screen, like a play or any of that. Is there like a very specific way you learn that in college, or do you learn that just by working on the movie sets?
No, I think that I learned it from, I've never picked up actually that's a lie. I've picked up many screenwriting books, but I've never opened one.
Save the cat.
Heard it here.
Yeah.
He's never.
I think that, I don't think that that's that unique. I think that I learned mostly because I was doing those jobs and all these scripts were passing
seen them.
through, and I was reading and reading and reading. And then I forgot who it was, but somebody told me, it was like, watch your favorite movie, find the script. You could basically find any script now online. And then you watch the movie, and then you read the script, and then you kind of watch the movie and follow along and see how people did things. Like, how did they describe, somebody walks into the door.
That's cool. That's good advice.
Yeah. And trust me, I think that like, if I was able to do it, I think anybody can. It's like really like, the other thing that I learned was just like, you can force the creative, like just sit the fuck down. Pardon my French again. But
No,
like, if
that's
I just like, I know that if I don't wake up and write, then I'm never going to get to it in the day.
Are you like I'm more creative in the morning type of guy, or like with my coffee, or like I have to go to a
Yeah.
cabin? Like,
Yeah.
do you have any of those like little quirks?
I don't think so. I think
God, you're so boring.
I'm more like,
Just kidding.
no, definitely in the morning. I write in the
Yeah.
morning, and then sometimes I'll do.
I want like I do 6 jumping jacks, and then you know what I mean?
I don't really
like
have. I don't really have any of that. I think Quentin Tarantino says that he like goes and sits in the pool, or
Oh.
a lot of people say that they like Stephen King will go on long walks or drives or something like that. I don't. I just like I try to sit down and accomplish what I'm trying to, if I have like I just say 4 pages a day or something like that.
Yeah, you just set a goal and you do it.
Set a
Simple.
goal and then do it, and it can be bad because like nobody has access to my computer or that file until I send it.
You let it, yeah.
So like everybody always says it's like writing is rewriting, but I truly believe that because if you looked at like a first draft of something, it's
Terrible.
yeah, it's awful. And then you work it. And I was just under the impression that if I like sat and looked at something and thought about it hard enough that it could be good. And like, I think that the first mountain that I had to climb was like faking it, I just wanted people to read a script and be like, okay, this guy knows how to put together a script. It's not, awful.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm not sure. I think I probably failed at that for a long time,
Yeah. Can anyone write a script? Like if I wrote
Yeah.
one right now, like I have no representation. I don't know. And I just think it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
What do I do? Do I like send it? Do I like mail it in to some people? Like how do I get it made?
Well, I guess writing it and getting people to read it are two different things.
Right. But
Like-
in your expert opinion, how would let's just play a little fun game.
Yeah, let's do it.
I write an amazing script about, I got nothing right now, but it's good.
Come on,
It's great.
let's hear the pitch.
It's really great. It's yeah. And
Okay.
what happened? What should I do in your opinion to get someone to read this?
Okay, for your script about being a life coach,
Yeah. Career coach, but it's okay. We'll forgive you.
career coach, sorry, pardon.
Very different, but we won't get into that.
What's the difference?
Like, I'm not going to put anyone down, but like life coaches are a little bit more like, helping your whole entire life and this whole thing. And like, I feel like maybe you have to have like, they go through like schooling and all these things to like be a life coach. And it's like, they're very like into that. I, write people's resumes and I help them on interview practice, how to get jobs, how to negotiate their salaries. It's very like, here's what you need to do
Got
and
it.
here's how to get there. And I can tell them like, your resume fucking sucks and like, you should do it this way. Whereas like a life coach, I feel like has to like encourage and like
Right.
be a little bit nicer, and I can just be very point blank with people.
Right, they
in the
got to be a
career
little more
aspect.
positive, and
Yeah.
you're realistic.
I'm a very positive person, but I like to come at it with a little edge.
So do you have like? So
Wait,
you
this
wo-
is my podcast.
So you won't have like
This
clients.
is your interview now.
You won't have clients that are, have been your client for a long time because then you weren't, you're not really doing your job.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
they kind of just
usually-
go.
Usually they go on, they make their, they get a new job or whatever, but they'll come back because
They'll get fired.
They'll get fired because I helped them. No, they'll come back. Actually, a lot of times they'll come back because they want a promotion. So like, hey, help me like write down the things that I should be talking about in my meeting to get a promotion and things like that. You can find me at careercoachdarcy.com.
You heard it here first.
So how do I get my movie made?
So that's your script.
My script is about career coaching. Yeah.
Your script is about falling in love with somebody that you were coaching.
Ooh. I would watch that, Darcy.
Yeah. Through the Zoom screen first, and then we
Exactly.
and then-
All right.
yeah.
So it's a COVID movie.
And I have a boyfriend of 7 years. This is even juicier.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm like
so excited.
Scandalous.
Well, he's his boss actually.
Whoa.
That's how I got the job. So so you write this movie and you're just so inspired that you write the whole thing down on a cocktail napkin.
As one does.
And then you pick up you Google screenplay and you're like, "Oh man, I need I don't know how to format this thing." And then you just copy that format
Okay.
with all your ideas. And then you have a document. And what's great about that is you have a tangible thing that you own.
Am I printing this out or am I like PDFing it?
You can
Just
do
as a-
either.
Okay.
It's mostly PDF now.
Okay.
The
That's my assumption.
So, but that's what's awesome is like you wrote this, that was your idea. No one else owns it. It's totally unencumbered. And you're like, okay, now I want to get it out there. There are certain websites that you can actually pay for like professional readers to read your scripts and give you feedback. So
That's cool.
yeah, we'll put that in
Put that in the show notes.
the show notes. I don't know what they are, but there are websites.
I'll find them.
So if I had this, like, let's just say I do have this in my hands right now, or like in my computer.
Yep.
Maybe I could go like, okay, I'll just kind of get into the industry and like start to talk about my screen. Is there people like that? Like they're PAs and they're like, oh, I wrote a script. You should read it. Like, is that, or is that
Right.
just what you see in movies?
No, there are. I mean, that was me on 21 Jump Street, and then it took me, 10 years to get the script to them. I think that like it's hard for me to say what you could do if you're from, if you're living in Delaware. It's hard for me to say what you're gonna do to try to get, to
Someone
become
to-
a screenwriter. I think that like a big thing, and maybe it's not as important as it used to be, but like I had to move to LA.
Right.
I had to find a job where it was just kind of everybody was in the business, because half the people that I talk to on a daily basis, or that reach out to me, or I reach out to when I have an idea or something like that, are people that I was assistants with when.
Yeah, it really is about who you know, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about who you know, but like I think that it's really about the connections that you make, not necessarily the connections that you have.
Okay. Wise words.
I'm not really sure what that means.
Yeah. I want to go back for a second. When did you write Cocaine Bear?
What year?
Yeah, or like when did you start it? Because I'd love to know that, like, how long it took to get to where we are today.
I think I wrote that in 2019
Okay.
and sold it in 2019, and then
Oh, no big deal.
COVID hit. Yeah, no big deal. And then COVID hit. So then we kind of stalled for a second, but then we shot the movie, and then we were fully greenlit. Like, I think I want to say it was like Christmas 2020.
I hear the word green, or the saying greenlit a lot. Does
Yeah.
that mean like it's like, obviously it means a go, but a go like in terms of it's gonna be a movie on the street, or you just get to like,
You get to go shoot
What
it.
does it
I
mean?
think
Okay.
traditionally it means that you get to go shoot it, but like
Okay.
that, I think the green light process is kind of, I think traditionally that's what it means, but I think it's, I'm not sure it really exists anymore, because I mean, they say that you have to, like, once you're 2 weeks in to production, then you can finally relax that they're not going to pull the plug because they've already spent too much money on it.
right.
But so I think green light is kind of a term that's shifted a little bit.
Got it. Speaking of money,
Yeah.
I love to ask people like what they make.
Yeah.
I won't be that intrusive, but I would love to know if you could give us a little information about like what someone can make either at like the smaller level as a screenwriter or like larger level. Like what does that even look like?
Yeah, if starting off, I mean, I think that like the first thing that I sold, or not even sold, it was optioned, which basically means that the studio, it was a TV show, it was a pilot. The studio has 6 months to have exclusive rights to go try to sell that to a network to
Okay.
put it out. I think I got like $2,500 for that.
Oh,
And
I
it
had
was
no
like,
idea where you're going with that. I was
the-
like try and guess, and I had no idea.
because it was an option,
Okay.
and those deals are pre-negotiated. So like if the show got made, then you get anywhere between, I don't really know what the minimums are. If you go on if anyone is listening wants to check it out, you can go on the WGA website and check and type in the search bar like WGA minimums for
What's WGA?
the Writers Guild.
Oh, okay.
So if they type in that, and then they have the breakdown of what the minimums are from like whenever the last union negotiated contract was for, a TV writer, a feature films for streaming, television for broadcast, like all that kind of stuff. And they break down the minimums, and that means that that's what you absolutely have to get paid.
Got it. Because everything's
Oh,
in the
I'm
union.
looking at it right now just for everyone's sake. An
Yep.
original screenplay, including the treatment, you will minimum get $79K, and like the high rate is $150K. And then for TV shows, it says minimum is 12 $5,500 up to like 60,000, and I'm sure it varies.
Yeah,
by
that might be like
person.
per episode or something like that for
Okay,
TV
so
shows.
you can make mad money then if that's per episode.
Yeah, and a lot of people make way more.
I was going to
than
ask that.
Those
Better
minute
to movie or TV show? More money.
right now more money in television for sure.
Yeah.
There're just more shows. But and it's just hard to make a living really doing either. I mean, a lot of these numbers are so high. They feel like they're so high.
But you might
then-
get one project and be out for years.
Right. Like you can you could sell one thing and then you have to just use that again as a stepping stone. I think that in the past there was like an idea, and it might have been true, that you could sell one screenplay or make one movie and you can kind of live off of that for the rest of your life based on like the residuals.
What?
For
Really?
that.
That used to be.
If it was big, yeah. I think now it's
There were
not.
less things back then.
Yeah.
So everything was big. Now it's
Totally.
like there's 5 million shows on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Too much.
Got it.
I think
What are you
so.
watching right now?
White Lotus.
It's good, huh?
Yeah, I love
It's
White
so good.
Lotus. It's really
What
good.
What are you watching?
I'm currently watching the Pepsi Where's My Jet.
What's that?
It is so freaking good.
Is it
What is
good?
that?
Yeah, it's about the kid who was like 20 and he got all the points to be able to get the jet that they showed on the commercial.
Oh yeah, I saw, I
And
saw the
yeah,
trailer.
and the
Interesting.
production of it is so funny, the way they like film it and the way they talk through all the characters. I mean, they're real people, but they seem like characters because they're so funny. But they're just real people who are involved in this mess. And I have one episode left, so I don't know if he gets the jet or not. So don't ruin it for me,
You
anybody.
better get the jet.
Yeah, I know.
Or else you're like, you
But
can't
it's
make
not,
the
if you haven't
doc.
watched it, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, so you named a show that's on HBO Max, and you named a
Netflix.
Netflix show, documentary series.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, are you guys excited about movies at all?
I
Movies?
have a thing
Yeah.
about movies.
I love movies. I'm a film snob.
Okay, yeah, we won't
boy.
get it. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a commitment to me that I can't face of like, I'm going to have to sit here for 2+ hours and I might not like it, but I'm that person that has to finish it.
Oh.
Right.
And so I can't commit to that type of level.
Yeah.
And I like the breaks between shows. I like to feel like I can come back to this. I can go be productive and then come back to this.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I think a lot of people feel like that. But I that's all to say that, like, I don't know, Netflix isn't very old. So it's just kind of the whole nature of the business has really shifted, and so have the finances, you know. So like but to answer your other question,
The money
you
question?
can make a lot of money.
Like a big like this last Top Gun, like whoever wrote that,
Yeah.
like they're making like $1 million for that. Maybe.
Probably more.
Okay.
I think that like if it's a big movie, you can, like, $1 million is good. I think, but the movie has to get made. And again, we were like, I think you were just asking me about like what are the percentage of movies that actually get made. I mean, you make good money if the movie gets made.
Right.
But maybe not if it's like a indie and it's a low budget and stuff like that. So I don't mean to discourage anybody. It's just more like,
I feel inspired. I'm going to write my script after this.
Yeah. And
like,
he's gonna take our idea.
I think
Oh my God.
So there's this career coach.
I think the trade-off is like you get to do something that you love,
Yeah.
and you also, like, the opportunity is insane.
This leads me into one of my questions. I feel like you're getting here, so I'm gonna keep you going.
Go ahead.
What advice would you give people that want to get into the entertainment industry, or more specifically, want to become a screenwriter or director?
Oh,
Don't do it.
Maybe don't take advice from Jimmy.
I think you should definitely not take advice from me. I think that
Oh,
I Advice. Jeez, maybe I should have looked at these questions before.
Yeah, I asked him if I'm like, do you want to look over the questions? He's like, no. Like, just, let's go.
I think that what I've learned the most is that it's really just about attrition. You know, it's like if you can stick it out, then something sometime is going to happen for you.
Yeah.
As long as you keep like working at it, I think. But again, I don't know anything. Like I'm kind of like
We're getting that.
flying on the seat of my pants. Sorry, am I too far away? I think that what I do know is that like I think that it's all about hard work. It's not like it's just like the idea comes to you and you're like, I mean, I guess with Cocaine Bear, it was a little bit like that, but you have to actually write the movie. You have
to
do
sit
the
down
work.
and do it.
Yeah. So
How long did it take you to write it?
I think like 2 months.
And that was like, were you writing every day?
Yeah. I try to write every day. I think that's
Still?
all. Yeah. That's another
That's cool.
piece of advice. Does that count as advice?
That's a great advice. Yeah.
Yeah, write every day.
I don't know if I do anything every day. Maybe
Write every
drink
day.
coffee.
Here, I'll try to think of something smart. Okay.
Something smart.
Life is a movie. Don't be the bad guy. Everybody wants like this works.
Okay.
Everybody wants the bad guy to lose. Like you want to be somebody, I think that especially when you're a screenwriter, you want to be someone who people want to work with, you know? I think that like some of my currency is probably that I have the ability to get along with people. Maybe not you guys, but that
Jury's still out.
I think that it's like, yes, it's a lot about talent. It's a lot about hard work, but it's also, you know, so much about the collaboration. You know, people want to have fun as well.
Yeah.
So I think that is, you know, be somebody that I guess people want to root for. Does that work?
That's great. Yeah.
I love that.
I like have a very similar motto is like everything I do, I want to have fun. And like, I want people to feel like they're having fun when they're with me. And like, whether that's in work or just personal life, like I get invited to a lot of weddings and I feel like that's why.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I ask this to everyone, and if you don't have an answer for it, we don't have to sit here and wait for your answer. But have you ever, what is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you on a set? Or
Oh man. Okay.
I feel like you got to have some stories.
Yeah. That on a set,
Or just like in general.
one time I sent, when I was an assistant, I sent Oscar winner Mira Sorvino to the wrong address for a meeting. That wasn't that bad. I think the the funniest thing that happened was they have we were in New Orleans and I was like, PA basically just getting coffee. You kind of just make sure that people don't walk into the background of shots. You wrangle extras a lot of the time. And somebody had told me to water the background. And I thought at the moment that it was, well, what they actually meant was we're on blacktop pavement and it's 105 degrees in the New Orleans summer. Get the extras, who they call background, get them some water. That's what they actually meant. What I thought they meant was actually to water the background. So I grabbed the fucking hose and I just sprayed the entire thing down.
It's like, the fuck are you doing?
Like,
And everybody was like, this isn't supposed to be wet. Like, what are you doing?
no.
And I was like, oh, they told me to water the background. And I was like, oh, water the back. I got it. Sorry.
That's their fault.
Yeah,
They're
that's bad
speaking
grammar.
jargon, you know, come on.
It was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, that sounds embarrassing.
I think there are worse. I have worse stories. I can't remember any of that.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. Because it's like you're already the like low totem pole person, then you fuck up, and then you're like who hired this intern loser? And then
Oh my God.
sorry, am I bringing you back?
Way too far.
No, who hired this intern loser? No, I think that's how That's how I felt. That's how I usually feel every time I walk in. It's like, who the fuck is this loser?
To this day, he like,
Who brought him in?
I wrote this script on cocaine. He's like, who hired this loser?
But I have a question. Is
Yeah.
there something that you've written that won't get made or isn't getting made, and you're like, oh, I really, really want that to be made, and you just get a no, and you kind of have to move on from it,
Yeah.
and you just,
I think that happens. That happens more often than not.
and so then you just kind of have to accept, all right, this is never going to happen, and
Yeah.
it'll just live on my computer forever.
Is
Yeah.
that-
I think that like the trick is that, I mean, sometimes the majority of my job is like I get paid to write scripts and then they never get made. I mean, it's like, it's my mother's like question for from every Thanksgiving until like I actually got something made, which is like, what the hell do you do? Because there's nothing to show
Nothing to
for
prove.
your work.
Yeah.
But I would say
and they
that
keep the script. You don't get to.
yeah,
Because once they buy it, it's there, and then
they
it can
own
just
it.
die.
Yeah. Well, if they no, like eventually the rights would kind of revert back to you if it was an original
Oh,
script.
Cool. Okay.
Eventually, I mean, or you could try to go sell it to a different studio, and that studio would just kind of pay the money that's already been paid to the
get
to
out
the
of
previous
that.
studio. But there are different deals all the time. But I think the majority of writers would be like some writers work all the time, and then you look at like their IMDb profile, and there's not any
Yeah.
names on it.
When you meet a stranger and you're like, I'm a screenwriter or whatever, and they're like, what did you do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd be
well,
like, nothing.
Yeah. Or like when actors say, like,
have
what
I
were you
seen you
in?
in anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, Raimi, can you tell everyone what you were in? Raimi is an actress, everyone.
Yeah.
yes,
Pitch
the
us your
movie, there's 3 movies actually. They're called Papers, and I play a superhero who can control toilet paper, and I kill people with toilet paper. The tissue goddess. That was me. You can look
How
at
do
my
you kill people
IMDb.
with, like, you strangle
Does
them or
it-
something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I strangled them. It there was some
Was that
CGI
must
in
have been,
there.
like triple ply.
Yes, that was a joke in the movie. Yeah, it was supposed to be like horror comedy.
You're a writer.
I did a rewrite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was supposed to be horror comedy, and it was more so just a joke.
Horrible comedy.
Yeah, yes,
And
exactly.
it was and they were feature
They were feature length. I think they're on Amazon,
What?
but like not.
tissue goddess
Yeah, it's called Papers,
papers.
carbon copy.
I love
So
this.
stupid.
Oh,
It's really
man.
dumb. Yeah,
That was your big break.
that's my big break.
That's so good. Congrats.
Dang.
You know.
So now you
On
have-
and
Where
up
do we go from here?
I'm writing my screenplay next.
That's the last thing we do is we play smash or pass. I just say anything on here, like it's just random words, and you either smash it or pass it. It's like
Oh, you mean like I?
you like it or you don't like
Okay,
it.
got it.
Like, come on.
All right.
Okay. Reality TV.
Pass.
I don't know if we can get along. Cheese.
Pass.
No cheese.
Hard pass. That's
Is it the allergy thing, or you just don't like the taste of cheese? Because
It's also up for debate. Sam will say that.
Okay.
I just don't like it, but I struggle with it.
interesting. Sunscreen.
Smash that shit.
A Midnight's album by Taylor Swift.
Smash.
Okay. Being an assistant.
Pass. But smash.
Wales. The country.
The country.
Yeah.
Smash.
Okay. Celery.
Smash.
Interesting.
Celery.
Like with
Celery-
peanut butter or just plain?
No, salt.
Celery with some salt.
My
like
mom used to eat
pink
celery
Himalayan?
and cream cheese though. What?
Pink Himalayan salt or table salt?
Either.
Okay.
Smash pink Himalayan. though.
Yeah. Stand-up comedy.
I'll smash it on TV. I'll pass in person.
Because you can't feel like you can't get a laugh out
No, I just get so embarrassed
for the
For
person.
them.
just by the whole situation.
It's so funny.
Okay, and then well, Raimi, what's yours?
Oh, mine was Marvel movies.
Smash.
Okay. Marvel or DC though? Which one are you?
I'm not really either actually.
Yeah, don't lie. I was hoping for a pass.
I see them. Like
Yeah.
I'll see them.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. The last one's screenwriting, but usually people say so.
Pass.
So if you could go back, what would you be?
No. I would smash screenwriting. I think that honestly, I don't know who said this, but like, I enjoy having written. That is like, again, having that like document that is mine is one of that you can share, that you're excited about, is one of my favorite things. It's one of my like the joys. But it comes with like a lot of bullshit to deal with. But it's really fun. So
Yeah.
like I can't do anything else.
Okay.
So smash.
Smash that. I usually ask people where they can find you, like, because it's like if you have a social, I don't know, like, should we just say like, is that not something you?
No, you can find me at Six Flags.
When does Cocaine Bear come out? Like, when can
Yeah,
people
give us, like,
watch that?
Cocaine Bear
stuff.
comes out February 24th, 2023.
Okay.
Cool.
And you can find me on Instagram. I think my handle's at Jimmy Warden _.
Okay.
And then also on Twitter, and I don't remember at Jimmy Warden _ maybe.
It's probably in between.
IMDb.
It's in the show notes.
Okay, it's in the show notes.
I'm
Thank you
sorry.
so much for coming on.
We'll do
you know
this
what
again.
Do you know what this podcast is called?
Love it or leave it.
Yes. Love it or list it.
Pardon my take.
It's called Down and Dirty with Darci. That's me,
So,
Darci.
I know who you are. So that's why we did Smash or Pass.
Yeah,
'Cause
maybe.
it's down and dirty.
Yeah.
I love it. I think that you guys are doing a great service.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on.
I'm staying. You got to keep me on.
Somebody make this
Darcy,
end.
the social clip is going to be you being like, do you even know what this podcast is called?
Yeah.
And he's like, cricket.
Love it or leave it.
It's going to be good.
You done?
Yeah, cut it. Make it stop.